This is what happens to the rest of the Parmesan.
Anna, a senior film major, loves to cook, especially vegetarian food.
I feel like maybe I should have put some more olive oil on this.
These days, she doesn't stress too much about food unless she catches herself accidentally skipping meals in her busy college life.
When I know that I'm off, I'll be like, okay, I need to have like a protein, I need to have like a decent amount of grains in this meal, so I'll try to like get myself back on that track.
But in the past, when she needed a daily meal plan,
I was so obsessed with like the lack of food in my life. I was constantly thinking about how long it had been since I had last eaten, or what it had been that I last ate, or when I'm going to be forced to eat again.
Anna is one of the millions in the United States who has struggled with an eating disorder.
I almost would like challenge myself and be like, how long can I go before I have to eat? I was trying to find some form of self-worth and like control, and maybe if I like waited long enough and I like persevered enough, like it meant something positive about me.
In her senior year in high school, she admitted herself to a residential facility that was able to help her with her problem, but not without taking a toll on her high school years.
Well, I stopped eating lunch with friends because I felt really awkward and weird. It really affected my schoolwork because I would just be so tired and so exhausted that I couldn't always finish it all.
Besides exhaustion, she struggled with other physical side effects, such as heart palpitations.
One of the things that scared me the most was my hair. My hair would fall out. It would just like come out in clumps, like in the shower. I bruised super easily, and I would faint sometimes.
After over a year of heavy restricting, she recognized that she needed to seek help.
I was self-harming at the same time. So there was a point where like physically wasn't feeling like pain or anything. That was a weird wake-up call for me.
Anna experienced only some of the many physical side effects people face when battling an eating disorder. Among some of the more dangerous ones are irreplaceable bone mass and gray matter in the brain. These negative physical effects are caused by
something called low energy availability. You just have sort of a inability to meet your requirements.
In order for the body to run efficiently, the calorie requirements for functioning, growing hair, and healing have to be met. But it's also important to digest the right nutrients at the right balance.
If someone is binging and purging, may have lower amounts of calcium or potassium, that means that there's going to be electrolyte shifts.
This applies to all eating disorders where someone is not receiving balanced nutrients and can cause one of the most serious side effects.
If they have issues with their electrolytes, then we're really concerned because that's when they might be at greater risk for having a cardiac event.
This deadly mental disorder can start for a number of reasons.
I used it as a coping mechanism, which, I mean, it made things so much worse.
Harvard's Dr. Allison Field has studied eating disorder risk factors for years, and family members are one of them.
So moms who diet are more likely to have children who diet. They might also pick up some very unhealthy behaviors from older siblings of very risky ways to be controlling their weight.
One of the biggest factors is the inescapable media, from TV models to magazine articles.
We found that the more often girls and boys try to look like same-sex figures in the media, the more likely they are to be concerned with their weight.
Besides the models, media articles are full of advice on what we should be eating that aren't exactly the most consistent.
You hear a new one every other day.
Or accurate.
The media has a 60-second soundbite. So you have this wonderful nuanced message, but they're like, give me, the 3 bullet points, boom, boom, boom.
Some of the worst offenders in lowering self-esteem are the lose weight in X amount of days articles.
If someone implies that you could achieve that look, so 5 minutes a day and you can, to better abs, and it sort of gives the message that, gee, you could do this. It's not even that hard to do it.
All specifically tailored for consumers to continue buying.
The whole industry that wants you to feel bad about yourself so that you will buy their product to feel better about yourself.
This dissatisfaction seems to be a common theme, even if it isn't always about trying to be thin.
I never went through my eating disorder being like, I want to be thin like this person. Like, there's a level of disliking yourself enough that you would starve yourself or habitually binge and purge or count calories obsessively.
But with that dislike also comes the idea that their eating habits aren't actually a problem.
So that's how much you would have eaten.
Yeah, probably.
Would you have finished it?
Probably not.
So I think it's kind of a hallmark sign of an eating disorder. A lot of people feel that they are actually making healthy choices.
often based off of what the media says.
The media kind of plays into this good and bad type thing, or should not. And that creates a lot more harm than good.
Having a regular schedule seems to help for the 3 officially diagnosed disorders: anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating.
So we want to break the cycle of binging and restricting. So in order to break that cycle, the meal plan really it's important to eat regular meals and snacks. So usually every 3 to 4 hours eating something.
When recovering, Anna's meal plan focused on teaching her appropriate portion sizes and what a balanced meal looks like.
I'd have like 3 grains and like a fruit or vegetable and a protein for breakfast.
Compared to how she ate before.
I maybe would have like a piece of toast in the morning and I wouldn't eat lunch. And then I'd probably, like, for example, for dinner, I'd have like a couple raviolis and like call it a day.
And though using meal plans are helpful, there's an even bigger problem that needs to be addressed.
When someone starts eating more regularly again, they start to feel more of their emotions. I said it's a symptom of a problem, really.
When recovering from this deadly mental disorder, it's important to receive support from friends and family.
I try to tell people, you want to be loving and compassionate.
But there are guidelines for those who wish to support their loved ones.
You don't want to engage in any kind of debate or battle. You're not going to outlogic the eating disorder.
For Anna, it was her mother's support and daily visits that helped her through her treatment.
The unconditional love she had for me, even in this terrible state, was so helpful. I don't know what I would have done without it.
Anorexia affects 1 in 200 in the United States, whereas bulimia affects 3 in 100. These results are the same across all genders, races, and socioeconomic statuses. Overall, up to 7.5% of the United States population has a diagnosable eating disorder. However, even though this affects millions, only about 1 in 10 will receive the needed treatment due to their health insurance.
I think of it as discrimination. If you break your leg, no one would question if you got an x-ray and a cast. But for a mental illness, health insurance would say we don't cover that.
In order to receive access to a dietitian due to an eating disorder, the physical effects may need to be severe.
They may have to have diabetes to have access to one, or they may have to have severe weight loss.
However, for those seeking recovery, there is a light at the end of the journey.
I'm so much happier now than I was, then. Like, everything just seems so pointless and so bleak. I still wouldn't say I love myself, but I'm definitely much more comfortable with myself.
Though Anna says she stumbled a few times after her recovery and that her anorexia is a part of her, recovery is always a possibility.
It's not easy sometimes, but you're not trapped in it forever if you don't want to be.